But my observation has been that our policy focus in Africa quite often has been too narrowly focused and too short-term focused, and other than the things that have been mentioned, AGOA, PEPFAR, quite often focused on the wrong things. Before the end of the Cold War, our main focus was competition with the Soviet Union. And we are again now looking at competition with China and with Russia.
And the Russians.
The problem with that is it narrows our view to a certain menu of things, some of which don't often benefit the people of the countries of Africa, and in fact some that often work to their detriment. But one of the things that it does do, and this is the experience or my observation in talking to many of my African colleagues in the countries that I visited or worked in, is that by having our focus on competition with an external power rather than focusing on the countries themselves, we insult and anger not just the governments, but the people, because in a way they see this as minimizing or marginalizing them. They are seen as pawns in this game between the two big players. And what is the African saying? When the elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. Well, I think in some of these countries, people feel like grass. So this is just my perspective. We need to continue to do those humanitarian things that lift people out of misery and poverty. But we also need to have a broader, more long-term focus on dealing with Africa. Ambassador Davis said it, or your colleague, in a few decades, 25% of the world's youth and working population will be on the African continent. If we don't provide opportunities for those people, that's a huge pool of potential recruits for extremist views and extremist organizations, which affects our national security quite directly. It also inhibits and impedes the development of the continent. So we need to join with governments and with the people in Africa to take a longer-term view of how can the countries of Africa develop, take more responsibility for themselves, provide more for their people. And oh, by the way, I mean, one of the things, and maybe this is because I'm not an Africa hand, I try not to talk about Africa unless I'm talking about the continent, and I always qualify it by saying the countries of Africa, because there are more than 60 countries, and I've lost count of the number of languages and ethnic groups. This is a thing I think we also need to do, is to start looking at Africa for the diverse demographic, geographic, ethno-linguistic system that it is, and not thinking of it as this single large entity called Africa, because no such thing exists.